Trident trains, as you can clearly see, and it's the GWR 57XX Pannier.
Hi, so in my last video I said that I was going to be doing a video on how I weather locomotives. And the reason I say I is because there are so many different ways that you can weather locomotives. There are airbrush, paint, powders, and I'm sure there are loads of other ways that you can. I've seen some people use spray paint on wagons and stuff. So this is what I use personally to weather something. Oh, you can hear a box opening, something good's about to happen. I use one of these. It is a lid from a lunchbox. So if you've got a spare lunchbox and you don't need the lid, just tear it off. This is mainly for mixing things together to make brighter or darker colours. So I won't really be needing that today. I'm going to have two paintbrushes. One not so thin. This one isn't for powders because I'm going to be using it to put smoke stains on with paint. Just put that up there. If you can hear any background noise, that is because I have my window open, because finally Britain understands what summer is. And then the other one is a quite thin paintbrush. Yep. So this video might drag on a bit, I don't know. I'll just get some extra stuff out of the way. I'm going to be using smoke. That is just to dull down the paint. And I'd really, if you want to give a smoke stain effect, I would use this on engines that aren't black, so that aren't this BR black colour, or LMS black, for that matter. I won't be using my iron oxide because there's a model over there that I'm going to show you what happened. Rust, you won't need a lot of rust unless you want to make a scrapyard scene. Thinners, you'll need, and I'll tell you why. Dark earth, definitely. And some grey paint. Now you can get this from Model Zone, the Humbrol colours, and this one is Fortress Grey, and this is from the Warhammer series because I used to be into Warhammer. So you can get that from Games Workshop if you know what that is. If not, just go down to Model Zone and I'm sure they'll have some form of paint similar to that. So if you can see that engine in the background when I was doing that, this is my latest weathered model using those powders. And as you can see, if we just go from right to left on the model, at the back you can see I've used rust on the handrails on the tender, which just gives it that little more used look, so it looks like people have actually walked up there to fill it with coal or to fill up the water tank. And then if you go along here you can see dirt streaks going down. If you put dirt all over one section and then do lines downwards with thinners, that is the effect you'll get. It looks like streaking from the rain. And then that, a bit I'm very proud of, I know it's only a very small bit, but that is rust and dirt mixed together, then given the streaks, so then it looks like rust. The cab door has been gone over in rust and dark earth to give it that kind of faded look. You could say this is a heavy weathering, but actually no, it is a heavy weathering. I was going to say it's medium, but it's not, it is heavy. I don't know if you can see on the roof, but the roof has some rust and mostly dirt streaks using thinners. Then if you go along the wheels, I would very sparsely, or I'd very, let me speak first. I would not use rust all that much on wheel spokes, because if you use rust all over, it'll just make the engine look like it's been sitting in a scrapyard for a while. But bits of rust along the connecting rods where it would see regular use, so along these bits here. I would use bits along this kind of area here. The only problem is that a bit has actually broke off of it, not due to my weathering. I actually, when I bought it, I didn't realise till a week after that there was a bit that had broke off just there, so I would have gone over that, but I have oiled it so the powders probably wouldn't stick to it. Then if you go even further forward, you can see if you go along the cylinders, I would definitely use rust on that if you want to create a heavy weathering effect. Just move that forward there. If you want to get that heavy weathering effect, I'd definitely use that there, because steam would cause the paint to kind of age faster, I'd probably say. Then on the smoke box door and on the running board, it is just extra dirt and rust, and I know you can't see it, but I have painted black along the boiler, considering this is a standard class 4 by Bachmann, one of their older ones, so you wouldn't have been able to tell that I'd put smoke on, so I had to paint it on because it gives it that darker effect and more oily effect. Then if you move over to my class 08, on the roof here you can see it's quite red. That is because of iron oxide. I didn't realise how red it was actually going to come out when I put it on the model. So yeah, so on the diesel, on the class 08, I've used the smoke to create an oil effect from the exhaust. So that's what that is there. And if you go along, more streaking along the roof. On the other side it's probably slightly better. As you can see, this one looks like it's been worked a bit more there. You can see more of the effect of iron oxide and more effect of the smoke there. Focus back, yep. Some bits I'd weathered earlier with using paint. Yep. Now to get onto my latest model. Know how much I'll actually be able to focus on the model, because when weathering you can't really keep something still in one place for a while. So if you want to add any extra detail, do it before you weather the locomotive, so that when you do weather, you can weather the objects with it, unless it's a guy, and you don't really want to weather a guy because then it doesn't look realistic. So I have added extra a lamp from the Hornby, I think it's called the driver's accessory kit or something. And if you own a Bachmann C-Class, then you'll know it comes with these little shovels. Now you can actually glue these on the model if you want, but being it a Pannier tank, and if you've seen a Pannier tank in preservation, then you'll know that you normally see shovels on the back that are even rustier than the than the locomotive. So I'd recommend being able to pick some of these up, but you can get shovels from Hornby when you buy this pack, because it comes with the driver, head code, lamps and discs, and quite a few shovels and tools. Now I wouldn't recommend gluing these on, because it's very fiddly and you'll end up gluing it in the wrong place. Plus, if they're left to wiggle around a bit, it looks a bit more realistic. So you can keep the couplings on if you want, but it just means that weathering will get onto that. So what I'm going to do is take them off. Now you can either just take the couplings out, which I'm going to do, or you can completely take off the pockets, but I can't see the point in that, considering the pockets aren't really going to get weathered. So just put them to one side. Now most people tend to unscrew the chassis from the body, so then they can weather this separately to this, but if you have it all kind of together, then normally if powders do fall down, they get onto the wheels and make a realistic kind of dirt effect, like it's either splashed up or splashed down, depending on if you want a rain effect. Another reason is this guy is only blue tacked in, so I'm scared in case if I take this out that the guy will fall out. So I really should have super glued him in, but oh well. So the first thing I normally do is get my dirt, dark earth, and normally maybe give it a light, well not a light, because what I'd recommend you doing is have pictures of a locomotive from the time that you are modelling, or have a picture of the model being weathered by someone else, so you can get an idea for what you would like. As you can tell, I've never really done these how-to videos before. So, powders you can just use. Like paints, you just scoop it up, get rid of any excess. I'm never really good with them. And then just start weathering. Now, if you're wondering what these bits are here, it's actually from where I've been handling the locomotive. It is good to try and get some of that off before you weather it. But now the next thing I'm going to do is get rust. All these powders are from Humbrol, and the paint is from Games Workshop. Now the reason I'm going to get some rust now, and don't worry about washing the brush, because powders don't normally really get mixed up, unlike paints where you regularly have to dry your brush before go to paint. So with powders you can just mix them up, they don't actually get mixed up. So these bits here are part of steam. As you can tell, they are pipes leading from the cab, and like I said, with the pistons on the standard 4, bits that were normally transporting steam would age faster. So, and if you do get rust or any other powder on bits that you don't want to, you can pretty much just mix that in with the rest. It won't look bad at all. It will actually look quite realistic. I also use rust for the the steps going up to the footplate, just because they would have been in quite frequent use, because drivers, firemen, that kind of thing would have walked up it daily, so this would have weathered it further. So this is now what the running board looks like. You can see the bit of rust there, the light, the step ladders, steps, and we haven't done along here. So this pipe here, you can rust up like that, or you can just leave it dirt. Now I'm going to do a mixture of the two. Now we've done most of the running board, I'm going to focus more now on the actual tanks and the cab. So we'll start on the tanks first. Definitely try and weather up the buffer beam, because this would obviously see the most dirt because of it being brighter than the rest of the locomotive. So I'll just finish this off and then I'll show you the little extra details you can add once you've mucked up the front. What I'm now going to do is add rust around the smoke box door and add paint towards the bottom of the smoke box door and on the running board, grey paint, so it looks like ash has been poured from the innards of the smoke box, and then some have fallen from the some's fallen onto the running board and some has stained the smoke box door. Now you even see this on preserved locomotives. It is only very regularly cleaned locomotives that you will not see the ash stain, as it's called. I never really did show you what the Pannier tank came out like, because I kind of stopped after a while because well, I kept trying to varnish it and it kept kind of blowing up, so the results kept changing every time. I didn't continually record it. All the sections that you see prior to this were how it originally came out. Then I did it again because I tried to varnish it and it all blew it off, so it doesn't, I must admit, it doesn't look as nice as the first result, but anyway, so I'll just go around, and there are some bits that I have put in the video, so such as the ash, which I think looks a bit too thick, the rust on the smoke box door that I'm really happy about. The little lamp there looks really dirty, which it would have. Where the cleaners have tried to show the British Rail symbol or emblem. The rust along the brake blocks I thought came out really nicely. And the cleaning of that was the Great Western way of, like, you see 3F painted on the sides of standard 4s and black 5s and everything. So you have like 4MT for the standard 4, 5MT for the black 5. This one, like I said in the video previously, the colour would say, I think, how heavy it was in C, and the letter was how much it could carry. I don't know, if you're a Great Western expert, please tell me if I'm wrong, because I really want to know about the how they tell from that. So you have the driver in there. Then if you go along the top, it's not very obvious, but there is actually black smoke stain that goes across. The roof for some reason the dirt didn't come up on it. But I actually went all over this in matte varnish because I thought that would seal it, and then I remembered it's matte, so it comes out shiny like that. So then I used that idea for water, so then you have it dripping down the side there. And if you go around on that side, I actually just let it run. The matte varnish, I let it run down the side of the tanks. So some bits are a bit shiny and makes it look a bit odd. So I think that's why I'm not overly happy with this. And if you go along the back, if you see here, I don't know whether you will, but I have actually added the smoke powders along the back of the tanks to make it look like coals run down the side. Then on the back, I've done pretty much the same, just really dirty, and then added the smoke to make it look like coal dust, and then I've added the Bachmann C-Class shovels and painted them brown, and then rubbed some of it off to make it look like it's just going rusty. So yeah, I mean, it's not the best one I've ever done. I mean, if I did have to say that, it'd probably be the standard 4. I really like how this one's come out, especially with the rust on the cylinders. But I also do like my Class 08, although it is way too dirty for its for the time that I'm actually modelling. Even though it's way too rusty and dirty for that, I still really like how it's come out. But I'd like to know your thoughts on it. So I hope this video has somewhat informed you of how to weather. That's just how I weather a locomotive. So if this is too dirty or too rusty or too anything, then I probably recommend not doing it my way, because this way is really heavy weathering. And if you want to know how I do the grease on the buffers, it's matte varnish just put on so it looks more grease than just where it hasn't been buffered up to. So now I'll hitch it up to a train, and you can see that it does run pretty much how it used to, even after adding the varnish on. Now I must just point out that none of the 3 that you saw there have actually been spray varnished with this. This is what I use, and it does. Now I thought it might actually work because it has a picture of a train on, and I read some bits, and I think it does tell you somewhere that it should be able to hold powders, but it does say acrylic paint on, so I might actually be using the wrong spray, because I did buy this for because I was painting a gun for cosplaying and I needed this to seal the acrylic paint on, so I might need to go and find one for powders, because that might be the reason why they're not sticking. So anyway, put it there. Now it is squeaking because I haven't oiled it. As you can see, it's just something different to have on the layout, having an engine that's been weathered. I think for some reason I have a suspicion that it might be that front wheel that's squeaking. I think when it's on the layout, it does look nice, because I mean, I do have phases with this engine that in some lights it looks absolutely horrible, just how I've weathered it, and then in others it actually looks really nice. Hang on, I'll show you some stuff on the train, because I have weathered this, but it doesn't look... I might need to go over the weathering again, because it doesn't actually look like it's been weathered. This one you can tell that I've weathered, because it looks a bit dirtier than all the rest. And then this is actually a Thomas the Tank brake van, which I've painted up and weathered. So now it looks a bit more detailed. That is slightly weathered, but I've tried to get rid of some of the weathering because it's a triangle model, and if I can get a new motor for it, which probably will be quite a while before I actually get a motor or even attempt to repair it, or even ask my dad to attempt to repair it, then if I can repair it, then it means that I might be able to sell it for a bit of money if it works, because triangle models are quite expensive if you go on eBay, if you can get some in mint condition and everything. So if you go over here, these are some of my weathered wagons. You've got the Trang fish wagon. Wait for the Pannier to go by. I have weathered that, but it doesn't really show up on camera. All of my Bachmann vent vans I've weathered. If you can see on that one, it has planks rotted on it, white or replaced. I think those are the ones that have been replaced, yeah. And then on that one you can see it's gone a bit rotten. And then if you go over to this side, a very, very rusty Tidmouth milk tanker, and a very weathered oil shell tanker. If you look over here, I actually have Mavis on the layout at the minute. Mavis has been weathered. I actually used, I think it's called Snow, in this little Tamiya weathering pack I have, and it makes it look like quarry dust. So I think she came out really nicely. Obviously you don't want it to be weathered too much, considering it is Thomas the Tank. And then I do have another Thomas model that I've weathered. Sorry about all the moving about. Should really plan this more. It's Salty. I actually did a video on how Salty came out, but Mavis and Salty have been varnished. But that's because I used pastes in instead of powders. And in that video I did say Salty was a class 14, I believe, but Salty is actually a class 07 dock shunter. They came around, I've seen pictures of them in the BR Blue livery, so with that Intercity, well I call the Intercity logo, the see if I can find it. I'll probably work. Oh, it's actually there. That logo. I know it's not the Intercity logo, but on later ones you did see it on. I know it's a British Rail symbol. I saw it in that livery, so it could be that it came around after 1965, because that's when the livery was introduced. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on how to weather, heavily weather, a locomotive. I hope you've taken something from it. If you didn't like how it weathered, please comment, because then I'd actually be able to decide whether I like it or not. But if you did like it, how I weathered it, could you leave a comment as well, because that'd actually really help. So yeah, bye.